to CWCD Casual Wrestling Conversation Daily for April 2nd, 2025. I am your host, the notorious Dirty D, joined by the Queen of Casual Level Up, Lauren.
What's up, y'all?
And today we're diving headfirst into the grand celebration, the day that Gunther became an actual real heel. Every weekday, I bring one topic straight to your ears, real conversation, no sugarcoating. If you like the vibes, join the Casual Wrestling Discord and kick it with my casual wrestling best friends. If you've got a hot take to drop or just a daily topic idea, drop it in the comments of this video, hit up the Discord, or email me at questions@casualwrestling.com. Today's show is brought to you by the Casual Wrestling merch store. We'll plug that in a bit, but for now, let's get started. So, no joke, Lauren. This is the April Fool's was yesterday. We're serious talk. Today, we celebrate World Heavyweight Champion Gunther finally becoming a heel. And for anybody who's listened or watched this show, they know I have been critical of Gunther over the past 365 days. I have questioned the validity of Gunther as a bad guy for a very, very, very long time. I enjoyed Intercontinental Champion Gunther because that felt like the appropriate level of where Gunther should be. But once he graduated and he became the World Heavyweight Champion, I had to grade him on a different curve. And up until this point, I feel like the run has been lackluster. But what we saw on Monday, I feel like we owe Gunther some flowers. I think we have to acknowledge it. I'm never going to say I'm not wrong because I've been right up until this point. But I think it is time that we acknowledge Gunther in his ability that it does exist inside of him to be a heel. What are your thoughts?
That was crazy. I did not expect that out of him at all. And my first thought was like, there's so much blood. Is this AEW?
It was a bloody scene, but that's the effective use of blood that WWE has kind of accepted in the last couple of months under Triple H. Is we're not going to do it every week, and we're not going to do it every match, and we're not going to do it in every spot. But when the time calls for it, we're going to bring in some blood. We're going to bring in a little bit of emotion, a little bit of just a little bit of like that goriness. Like our 9-year-old daughter was watching it and she was kind of
I looked away for a minute.
That's when wrestling's at its best, is when it's evoking emotion, when it's kind of giving you that like I don't want to watch. Gunther finally graduated to a place that I've wanted him to get to for a long time. But let's start off with, we have to define what a good heel is. Because I think in order for the last 365 days, I've really kind of taken shots at Gunther because I feel like he's lacked that something. Becoming a heel is not just getting booed by the crowd. There are nuances to the levels of which you become a bad guy. The casualist of the most casual fan can recognize WWE wants me to boo this guy, and they can boo this guy, but that never draws out that true emotional kind of visceral reaction that we have towards certain bad guys. And this is the same, mind you, the same thing that when bad guys do certain things, there's a subsection of the audience that begins to like those guys.
Yeah.
And I always felt like with Gunther, he wasn't connecting on either. He wasn't connecting as a bad guy and getting people to dislike him, and he wasn't connecting as a bad guy and getting those fans who cheer for the bad guys to like him as well. He was kind of just riding the middle. I always said Gunther felt like the most politically correct bad guy that we had ever seen. He kind of stood on honor. He would kind of bend the rules, but he never really cheated. But to be a good heel, to be an effective heel, and being a heel is being a counterpart to a babyface. Let's talk about that as well. But to be a good heel, you have to generate what's called heat, Lauren. And that's different than getting booed. Heat is that visceral, emotional reaction that you get from the fans. And you get that by cheating. You get that by mic work and saying things that are just a little bit over that line of what you shouldn't say, right? MJF is the master at gaining heat from mic work, okay? I don't need Gunther to be an MJF, but that's just giving an example, right? You can create fear. And this is the one that Gunther kind of teetered on, but they never really fully laid into the idea that people should be afraid of Gunther, that he's just that good. And what we saw on Monday was the culmination of all of those things finally clicking. After what we saw Monday with Jimmy Uso, people should be afraid of Gunther.
Yeah.
The way Gunther teased Jey Uso with the belt finally getting a little nasty, we can start to see that he has it in him to do the verbal things. Now, I got to see him grab a microphone, got to see him do some other things. But to me, what sets the bar for the MJFs, the Roman Reigns, the Mizes of the world, these are some of the best heels currently in the business, is you have to be willing to cross a line. And to me, that's what happened on Monday. I don't know what you saw. You said, like, you kind of, what are your thoughts on beyond just that? What makes a bad guy to you?
So to me, a bad guy is somebody who, like, I hate when I see them on the screen, but I want to see them because I need to know what happens. They make me mad. Like, I just have like a mad feeling because I don't like them. They've got to be kind of like dickheads to the crowd and to other people. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
That makes sense. That all makes sense. I think one thing that gets lost, though, is that a heel also has to keep in mind that they're working with a babyface. And I think that gets lost a lot in what makes a great heel. I saw, I don't remember who I saw talking about, but somebody was talking about John Cena the other day, and the way he reacted to Cody Rhodes, and that when Cody Rhodes shut him off and said something, John Cena cowered away in fear. And what that does is it makes the babyface feel stronger. And I completely agree with that. That's not my idea. That's somebody else's idea. But I completely agree with that. And to me, we can't. So I've always said Charlotte is a better heel than she is a babyface. Okay. But the last couple of weeks with Charlotte, I feel like she's really kind of shown an immaturity in being a bad guy. She's shown an immaturity in being a heel because the heel's job is to get the babyface over. That is your job, right? It's to be big, bad, and scary, but also to build up the babyface in your story. Yeah. We're seeing this with Gunther right now. Gunther has now executed this flawlessly. We're seeing it with John Cena. In the Charlotte and Tiffany Stratton story, we're seeing a heel walk all over and try to humiliate the babyface. That, to me, that I've taken kind of points off in my memory of what I think Charlotte's level is. But when we talk about Gunther, we have to talk about where he's fallen short up until Monday. Yeah. Up until Monday, it always felt to me like Gunther would walk right up to that line, right up to the line where we thought this is the moment where he becomes a bad guy, and he just never would step over. And I don't know if that was a character design. I don't know if that was something within him that he didn't really want to cross any lines with other wrestlers, but it always felt like he got right to the line and then he cut it off. And he would get a bad guy's reaction, but it was never visceral. It was never nasty or dirty. And I think there's a part of that stems from Gunther's always been a little bit of an IWC darling, right? In a weird way.
Like how so?
The IWC will argue he's such a great wrestler, and they'll argue all these things that I don't see, right? I don't necessarily see Gunther as just having this massive moveset or just being remarkable in the ring. I've always felt like Gunther's missing something, and I think it is that nastiness. But the IWC has always excused him, and so there's been part of me that wonders if the IWC hasn't gotten a little bit into Gunther's ear and he goes, I don't need to do these things. You know, the character he has always been, I'm better than needing to be a professional wrestler. And I've often wondered, is that the character, or does Gunther really feel like gimmicks are stupid? And I don't think that's what it is. I think it's his character, and I think he's played his character so literally that it's made him vanilla. And so on Monday, we saw for the first time, he broke that trope. He did all of the bad guy things.
Yeah.
He did all of the gimmicky things, from the zip ties to the teasing with the belt to choking multiple times to body or power bombing one of the WWE employees, right? All of these things that he's held back from doing for so long, it felt like just a waterfall, like the dam opened, the water came rushing in, and it just clicked, and we have to celebrate. It's when your dog does something good, we got to cheer him, and we've got to show Gunther the respect because he's graduated to that next level. We have to show him the admiration that he set the bar now. He has set the new bar for what Gunther should be. And my problem is we're 3 weeks away from WrestleMania. What does that mean? I mean, I don't foresee Gunther winning at WrestleMania because the optics of Jey Uso winning are just phenomenal, right? 80,000 people yeeting the world championship, the nightclubs. I've stayed on this, but now Gunther fucked it up for me because after seeing what I saw Monday, I go, I'd like to see a little more of that. I'd like. Maybe we keep the title on Gunther for a little longer. I don't think it's going to happen, but there's a part of me that says he's picked up on all those shortcomings. He's picked up where he sort of fell down, and I feel like I'd like to see more.
What do you think changed? Like, do you think that he decided to do that, or it was like backstage direction?
It's all speculation. If I'm just like, I think that. Here's what I think it really is. I think that up until now, like I said, there's been a subsection of the IWC who has heralded Gunther as just, he's good enough. Every time I've had a criticism of Gunther, there's been the white knights of the IWC, I call them, will come to his rescue and tell me how wrong I am, how I don't understand, what I'm missing, right? Mm-hmm. I think that a reality check has happened in the last couple of weeks with Jey Uso and Gunther, and that is a story that they thought was surefire going to be everybody's in on this. The last couple of weeks, the talk online has been, I'm not sure about this. Like, we got Jey Uso. We're not real sold on him anymore. Gunther's just kind of coasting. Like, I think the optics changed, and I'd been calling it out. Like I said, Triple H clearly listens to this show because once again, he's making all of these adjustments that I'm talking about. And what I'm talking about is I said Gunther's too vanilla. This story is just simple. You got a big bully, but he's not really he's not a vicious bully. He's just a big David versus Goliath story. And it's not sustainable for the next 3 or 4 weeks. So what happens? They open the floodgates. Gunther becomes a real bad guy in front of our eyes. And I think it happened because we're 3 weeks out from WrestleMania, and you're looking at, we got to inject life into some of these matches.
Oh, they injected some life into that match, for sure.
Sure. I mean, I think this Monday Night Raw did a very good job. I said it with John Cena and Cody. Mm-hmm. I will say it with Gunther and Jey Uso. They've injected life into storylines that were on life support. They felt lifeless to me. And so we have to celebrate the heel energy, right? We have to celebrate the fact that they went to the blood. And because I know the argument's going to be, you guys are so happy about blood in WWE, but when it's in AEW, you talk shit. This is the reason why you don't use blood on a week-to-week basis. This is the reason why every match can't have blood, because when it's used in WWE, it's shocking.
Yeah, I mean, like, I literally had to look away, and at first I was like, oh my God, is he bleeding? And then when he dropped him on his freaking head, I thought, like, oh my God, for sure he's dead.
Yeah, we just, as WWE fans, we're not trained to see somebody bleeding and reaching and grasping, and so it does add shock value. I don't need to see that again. No. I don't need to see blood again in this storyline for it to be effective. It may be at WrestleMania you have some blood, but I don't need to see any more blood. That is what, to me, really kind of adds that shock, that emotion, that visceral reaction. And I think that when seeing Gunther graduate and seeing him becoming a bad guy, he's now entertaining. And so I look forward to what that means next week, because he's got to follow up this performance with solid mic work. That's the next thing. He's got to get a microphone next week. And he's got to talk his shit.
Yeah.
And he can't, if he walks up to that line again and he stops, it's going to be a problem. He's got to lean in to the classic heel mentality, and he's got to, so what he did is he rubbed two sticks together on Monday and he started a fire.
Yeah.
Now he's got to nurture that heat and build that fire up over the next 2 to 3 weeks, so that when he gets to WrestleMania, you want the stark contrast of Jey Uso, the one that everybody loves and everybody cheers, and you want to look across that ring and have Gunther that everybody hates. Yeah. Not the irrelevant Gunther that we've seen for the last 365 days. We need this Gunther.
He had been pretty boring. Like, he showed us what he's capable of today, and I liked it.
Exactly. To me, Gunther is the definition of like, like a meter that goes from left to right. He's literally straight up, because he's never bad.
No.
But he's never great or good. So it's always just serviceable. He's not going to fuck up the story, but he's never going to elevate the story. We saw it with Randy Orton when Randy Orton kind of walked on him in promos. Gunther needs to kick it to the next level. And I think, hopefully, this was they opened the floodgates. They've let Gunther come out. I think we need to see more promos. I think we need to see him lay into, go after the crowd, go after the people. I love if you're doing the Gulf of America thing with Chad Gable, lay into the Austrian supremacy and I am a better athlete than all these people. Let Gunther really, he needs to develop layers now, right? We've seen the first layer. Now he's got to develop. Gunther's always been one layer. It's just one speed. It's just, I'm better than you and I can out wrestle you and I'm going to power bomb you and I'm going to choke you. And that was it. Now we can develop these layers with Gunther that can be very, very exciting, right?
Yes, sir.
I don't know how I feel right now about the state of Imperium, because we still seemingly, Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser are connected. The question to me becomes kind of, what do you do as we exit WrestleMania? Because we work under the assumption here that Gunther's going to lose this title. That's the assumption I'm working under. Now, Monday presents some holes in my plan, because like I said, I'd like to see what Gunther can do moving forward, but I'm going to work under that assumption. I think immediately coming out of WrestleMania, there needs to be a situation where Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser come together, maybe both having lost in the WrestleMania weekend. I don't know that Ludwig's going to have a match on WrestleMania, but maybe he has one on a SmackDown, and they've both lost and they have a confrontation. And I think this is where Gunther snaps and he turns on Ludwig Kaiser, turning Kaiser babyface, because I think he could be a phenomenal babyface, and it would develop even more heat for Gunther moving forward. And I think for the next few weeks, I would like to see an unhinged Gunther. Just a totally kind of savage, upset, pissed off, I'm taking everybody out. There's even a part of me that would like to see Gunther go back after the United States or Intercontinental Championship to reestablish a dominance.
Do you think he has that in him to get to that level?
Yeah, I do. I think after Monday, he proved to me, like on Monday, Gunther proved to me that whatever has been happening over the last 365 days is not a capability issue. That it's within him to be the bad guy that we want him to be. It's, can he keep that motor running? Can he keep the gas tank full? Can he keep the foot on the pedal now? You started it. You got the ball rolling. Now you have to keep the gas down and you got to keep rolling. That's what has to happen.
He released his beast.
He did. He did. I mean, really, like, he released his beast. We know Gunther's a great in-ring performer, right? Maybe one of the best when it comes to the X's and O's. But around here, we don't give a lot of credit for that. It's
personality.
You need personality. You need gimmick. You need story to win the casual audience. And I think he got there. I think he flipped the switch. And so the question becomes, Did Gunther graduate? I want to know what everybody thinks. What do you think, guys? What makes a good bad guy? What attracts you to a bad guy in professional wrestling? And did Gunther check those boxes? Has he turned the corner? Are we excited to see what that means for Gunther going forward? Anything else you want to add to this?
No, I hope that I see more of this Gunther.
I do too. I'm excited for the next couple weeks. Maybe we'll check in next week. We'll do a Gunther check-in next week just to see if he continued with that progress.
Battle of the bad guys, John Cena and Gunther. Who's the worst one?
You know what would be interesting next week would be who is the biggest heel going into WrestleMania. That would be a good episode to do, is to break down John Cena. You've got Roman Reigns. You've got, which I don't know. The good question is, who is the heel in the Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Seth Rollins story? They're all really kind of walking a tightrope.
Yeah.
But let me know your guys' thoughts on today's big question. Did Gunther finally show you what it means to be a heel? Check out the Casual Wrestling merch store. We've got fresh heat dropping for WrestleMania week. And trust me, you don't want to miss the new t-shirts that are coming out. I am the Notorious Dirty D. That is Level Up Lauren. This was CWCD. Stay casual, wrestling world. Ring the final bell.
Ding, 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 ding.
Head down, we're ready to rumble. The casual pod don't stumble.